We're live, everybody. Hey, how are you? It's Peter Clarke. Yes, it is. All day long, it is. Hey, welcome to Red TV in Conversation with me, Peter Clarke, your host, and good to see you here. Hey, thanks for joining me today. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I know that a lot of people who are watching right now, and I appreciate it because you've been sending me direct messages and so on. Thanks for tuning into the radio station that I go on a regular basis, and you tune into that. So it's all audio, not the video stuff like we're doing today, but I appreciate that so much. Thank you for all of that. And whoever is tuning in right now across LinkedIn or YouTube, we're broadcasting live right now. And wherever you get zeros and ones through your router, you can pick us up anywhere in the world. That's where you can get us. We're all the way across the pond today as well. So look at that good looking fellow over there. We're going to talk to him in a second. And I just want to say to everybody, hey, thanks for all of your support, for tuning in to Red TV. We always try to bring great conversations to LinkedIn, and I think we got a good one for you today. Hey, before we get going, let me just throw up a couple things. I just want to say again, thank you so much for being here. I mentioned the radio station. I want to talk to Niraj about this. I got to get better at self-promoting. I'm great at promoting other people, not so much of myself. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's imposter syndrome stuff. Maybe I'll get into that with Niraj here. But there's the radio station. You can go to 347thejuice.com and you can listen to it anywhere in the world. And we play music and we have conversation and all that kind of fun stuff. So I super appreciate everybody who has done that. And hey, today, right now, for this particular show, tag some people, get into the comments there. Join the conversation. I'm going to try my best to monitor things that you might want to ask our amazing guest over here, because I'm telling you, this is a big resource right here. This is a chance. So if you want to put in a couple questions, please do that. I'll do my best to get to it. And by the way, if I don't get to your question or anything, I'm going to answer every single one of them afterwards. So always, please make sure that you follow up with me and give some feedback and all that kind of stuff. So today, let's jump into it. I got a little window of time with this guy. Look at this guy over here. I just want to tell you a quick little story. I've known this gentleman for a few years now, and I haven't figured out exactly yet. We'll talk about that. We'll try to figure out when we actually met. But we physically met just recently in London, in the UK. And we'll talk about that story. But it was so cool. And I'm going to tell you this. I just want to share this with you, is that there's a real big difference between people who have time for you and people who make time for you. And this guy made time for me. And I so appreciated that. We connected and we were talking about the idea that, hey, we're both in London and you know, Canada and Ireland. Are we going to be able to hook up in London? And we made it happen. And it was just incredible. So I always appreciate somebody who takes the time to do that. So let me introduce you real quick. Listen, if you know anything about this guy at all, you already know what you're in for. But if you don't, please look him up on LinkedIn. I'll make sure you have the information for that. He's a sales coach, a trainer, an author, a speaker. He's been recognized by LinkedIn as a top voice in sales on this platform, on the LinkedIn platform, that is. He's also been acknowledged by Salesforce as a top sales influencer to follow for the past 4 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He posts regularly about things like, prospecting and role playing, mentoring, LinkedIn content writing, all that kind of stuff. All sales focused. And again, if you're a sales leader or a person in sales, which we all are, and he'll tell you all about that too, because everybody's in sales, as he knows. He's an incredibly passionate person about philanthropy too. So that really resonates with me as well. And almost just the most important thing is he's a fellow rock and roller. He's a rock and roller. He loves rock and roll music, not pop music. He likes music, but he loves rock and roll music. And this is what I love about this. So we're going to have lots to talk about today. I can't wait for you to meet this guy. Niraj Kapur, how are you, my friend?
Fantastic introduction. So great to speak to you. It really is, Peter.
Oh, great to see you, my friend. Hey, like I said, we haven't seen each other since our quick little run-in London. And thank you for, for wanting to make that connection, because I just thought it was so strange. Of all the places we could have met, myself coming from Canada, you were in you're from Ireland, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to reach out to this guy about a week before.
There you go.
There it is. Yeah.
Of us in London, and then
right.
Of you, me, and your gorgeous wife. So yeah, we all met in London in Westminster. It was beautiful.
It was nice. And you know what was so weird about? I mean, tell that story. I mean, I said to you, let's meet on the train somewhere in the tube somewhere. And he said, well, I'm going to be getting on the tube stay. I got to get it out to Heathrow. So I'm going to be jumping on at St. James. I was like, what? So tell that story very quickly. You're in the same hotel.
Yeah, I literally was leaving as you were arriving, and I was at a sales conference. I'm a huge believer, always be upskilling, always be learning. And I was at the basement of St. James Hotel, which is a beautiful, beautiful hotel in Westminster. And there we go. And,
there we are.
Literally, I was coming upstairs, and you were arriving. Like, no way! It was just amazing.
I couldn't believe it either. I was just like, oh man, I just checking in, and then around the corner he's like, Peter Clarke. I was like, oh man, just think about that. London, England. I mean, 1 15-minute pocket, and we were at the same hotel. So right away, but I want to mention, I said before, you reached out to me. I reached out to you and just said, I wonder if you're going to be there. And then through WhatsApp, you were giving me all kinds of advice about how to get around London and things to do. And you followed up with me while I was there. So I appreciate that, because again, it's a difference when people make time for you versus when, they just, they have time. And there's a great picture too. I love that one right there. I just happened to have I had the logo on, the whole 9 yards. I had the UK stuff going on. Right. So it was a lot of fun. So I really appreciate the fact that you made time for me there. There's so much to talk about here. Let me just jump really quick here. I know we got some comments, people here. Look, a lot of people are tuning in. Here we go. Hey, Maddie, good to see you, buddy, from Calgary. Hey, good to see you watching on YouTube. I appreciate that. Niraj, if you don't know 𝗖𝗵𝗃, please reach out to 𝗖𝗵𝗃. This is a super cool.
Recognize 𝗖𝗵𝗃's name, definitely. Hey, 𝗖𝗵𝗃, lovely to see you.
She's what a good soul. What a good soul. Speaking of good souls, look at this guy all the way over. You know this guy, right?
Yeah, I was lucky to meet Chris. Leah Turner had a fundraiser. She's a big supporter of his amazing charity. Right. And I supported it one year, just again, only having met him at Leah's party. And I made a few donations afterwards. And he's incredible. The work that he does with his wife to make a positive difference to others in this world is really something else.
Oh, come on, right? You got to meet this guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times, and we've done this. We've done these things, but it's just like you and I. It's like it's so different when it's like, oh, that person's real. That's a real person. It's very cool. Another beautiful soul, another beautiful soul, Niraj. Someone who does a lot of great work in Africa and
wow, lovely to meet you, Odd.
Oh, she is amazing. You want to reach that. And look, 365 Jacqueline Way over in Vancouver. Again, these are great people, Niraj. I know you're going to listen. You just got to run through them all, buddy. And I'm shouting them out because, listen, they're super cool people. Bill, good to see Bill from the Pittsburgh area. He's a big listener of 347 The Juice. Thanks, Bill. Always. God, so nice to have you guys around. I appreciate it, all the energy here. Look at that. And see, they all know each other. Look, Jacqueline, precious friend. Hey, Niraj, and they're here to see you, my friend. They're here to see you. That's what they're here to do right now. So appreciate that. Hey, so let's just jump into it. I know you have, well, first of all, I got to ask you this. Everything good? Healthy, well? Life is good?
Life is wonderful. This is my first ever interview with my wedding ring.
Yeah. Congratulations, my friend. I'm going to jump into that later on. And, but good for you. I know you like sharing personal stories on LinkedIn, and that one being a wonderful story of recent. And I know that was just like a couple weeks ago, was it not? Or a week ago? How long ago?
Yeah, 4th of December.
Oh, you're brand new. So I get the first one. Hey, good to see you. You're looking good for a married guy. You're looking good.
Thank you. I always wear business suits. I thought, because we know each other, because I've been working all day in my business suit, working all week in my business suit, I got my Bon Jovi top on here, and underneath, let me do this nicely. I got my AC/DC live on Wembley top from last summer at Wembley Stadium. They absolutely rocked. So it's nice just to chill. Right? Rock out for a change,
Oh, listen, anytime you join me, this is the actual atmosphere. I appreciate that very much. And hey, listen, I tried to get my hair as 87 Bon Jovi as I could, and I only wear this shirt for rock and roll guests. So just so you know, this is the one I wear for rock and roll guests. Cool. I want to know everybody, if you want to learn more about Niraj, please, you can go to the website, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏.com. You can go there, and of course on LinkedIn. Make sure you reach out to the guy. And because some of the things we're going to talk about today, first of all, is going to help you if you're in sales leadership in general. I'm going to touch upon that, but I really want to dig into some of your story as well, Niraj, because your story of transformation, I think, is just as relevant today as it has ever been for people, especially leaders. And I think, I don't know, 2025 has been a really fascinating year, to say the very least. So I just think it's important for us to talk about things that are going to make people feel a little bit better and more inspired for 2026. And your story will do that for them. There's no doubt about that. So there's just so much to talk about. I'm so glad that everything is good. Your beautiful bride, Rachel, a shout out to her as well. And we're going to try to get you to dinner in the next little bit. Let's talk about everybody works in sales, because that's your theme. That's what you talk about a lot. Just to get things started, to explain to people, if you and I were in that lobby right now and I said, hey, nice to meet you, my friend. And you're like, hey, everybody works in sales. And maybe you can just tell us very, very quickly, what does that mean? And what exactly does that mean when you say that? And a little bit about what you do for people and organizations.
Every single person you meet is selling a product or a service. Whether they acknowledge it or not, they are. And I speak to accountants all the time who say, I don't work in sales. I'm like, yes, you do. You just have to sell your accountancy services. I work with a lot of law firms. I do a lot of LinkedIn training with them. Like, we don't work in sales. Yes, you do. You need to have a personal brand and you work in sales. Everybody has a product or a service to sell. And my job is to help them do that with as much ease as possible. And that's it. And sometimes it's done on a one-to-one level, and sometimes it's done on a group level. The group level is always big and awesome and high energy, but the one-to-one is where you really make the personal relationships and you get the recommendations. So obviously I love one-to-one coaching more because it's so personal, but you only really grow your business doing groups. So I try to have a mixture of both.
Fantastic. Yeah. And anybody who is lucky to speak to you one-on-one like that, I agree with you. There's something magical when you're able to do this and have this kind of communication. And it leads me to this instantly, because, we talk about AI and stuff, but before I go into AI and those kinds of things, you seem to believe that, in all of the research that I've done about the content that you post and that you talk about and so on, that you believe that success in sales, it's fundamentally human. It's a human thing. It's not mechanical. It's a human thing. And you push back against this idea of, scripting and automate everything and AI driven and so on. So, AI is not going to replace us, with empathy and trust and things like that. But, just expand on that for me. What's the message here when you say that, or the idea that it's more human and it's not mechanical?
Absolutely. Look, if you're working for a company and you have, I don't know, 1,000 people working for you, or you're a startup that's moving really quickly, I understand you have to automate. I do get that, because I've worked with startups, I work with big, FTSE 100 companies. I get that. But majority of people I work with are solopreneurs or SMEs, the majority. And that is done on a human to human level. That is done by getting on a plane and making an effort and looking somebody in the eyes, and just meeting them face to face. That's the first really important part, is making the effort. And the second thing is just over delivering. I could have just said to you in London, Chris, have a great time, Peter. All the best. Enjoy Buckingham Palace. I didn't. I said, what kind of food do you like? And here's some restaurants I recommend that I think you would love. When you told me what, I didn't just say, try this. I said, what kind of food do you like? And then I said, you know what? While you should do the touristy stuff in London, here are some recommendations of non-touristy places, because I worked in London 25 years. I lived there 11 years. I know it really well. My daughter's now working full-time in London, so I fly over every 6 weeks just to have dinner with her and then fly back to Ireland again, because I kind of missed her since the divorce. So I get a chance to still be a big part of London. It's still a big part of my life. And I still made a lot of effort checking you were okay, seeing where you've been to, giving you food recommendations. There's nothing in it for me. You're not my client. You're not a potential client. It's just being a good human being. And in sales, being a good human being gets you a lot of places in life. And a lot of people don't quite understand that,
Couldn't agree with you more when it comes to this personal, just being a human thing. For me, I've been saying this for a little while now, privately with friends and things like that. I haven't broadcasted it, but I'll broadcast it now, because I really believe this. this idea of AI, and I see, because I'm a video producer, I make videos, I make podcasts, I understand a little bit of the technology, not just AI, but actually how to make videos and how to communicate and so on. Um, I really believe that, as humans, we're going to get tired real quick of, AI generated voices, AI generated video. And we're going to want to be able to do this. And the superpower, I believe, in the future will be this: your ability to communicate, do what we're doing right now, have a conversation, look at each other. Even if we're not in person, we can look at each other and hold space for each other, listen carefully, have conversation, dialogue back and forth. That's going to be a superpower, because not everything is going to be, with your thumbs, and not everything is going to be AI driven. So before I let you comment against that, let me just jump into that with AI. Again, I know that you've been open about it. You use it. I use it. We all talk about it. It's great for prepping and things like that. But you mentioned that it's terrible for selling. It's terrible for selling. So
It is. LinkedIn hasn't quite mastered it yet. You can use AI on LinkedIn, but it's not effective. I've tried it many times and thought, this is terrible. You can't just use AI on LinkedIn and go, hi, I see we have the same mutual connections. Let's set up a meeting. This is just awful advice. People ignore stuff like that. And I wish AI or LinkedIn would reach out to people like me that actually know how to sell and talk to us for advice. But it doesn't. A lot of these multi-billion pound corporations or multi-dollar corporations, they'll spend a fortune on consultants, paying huge but they won't actually talk to people who use it like myself. And I'm like, I don't even charge. I said, LinkedIn, look, I will work with you for free. Just let me give you some advice to improve the user experience. But a lot of the time they don't listen, unfortunately, which is a
yeah.
shame. But also with a company that big, there are so many layers you have to get through to get anywhere. And a lot of people working on LinkedIn, they're working for themselves and for their salaries and their pensions and their bonuses. They don't really care about the bigger picture like a business owner would. So
Mm.
that's a big disconnect LinkedIn has. They will serve the big companies who will have, 50 LinkedIn Sales Navigator licenses or spend £100,000 in advertising. But they often forget that most of their users are small business owners or solopreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like myself, like
Like
yourself.
yourself, like me,
Yeah, like we're just this is what, and here we are on the platform using it. Let me stay with AI for a second with you. The idea that, again, when you're using it as a salesperson, let's talk to the sales leaders out there. We have people like Jacqueline Way listening right now, who runs a nonprofit. Chris the same way, people that run nonprofits, small businesses, and so on. We want to use AI to help us, reduce some of those smaller tasks and maybe do, for research, all those kinds of things. So let's talk about, as we race towards automation, what human skill do you think will become more valuable because it can't be automated? What do you think that is for people
Oh,
that
the
are
most
running?
important skills without a doubt, and this has been consistent throughout 2025, and it's gonna matter more than ever in 2026, and those are soft skills. So by soft skills, I mean simple things like listening and paying attention. I have to work with a lot of Gen Z people. When I tell them to turn their phones off and put it in their bags, they freak out. You gotta be able to control this. This cannot control you. And when you wake up in the morning, don't look at your phone. When you go to bed at night, stop looking at your phone. When you have a lunch break, stop looking at your phone. It's just we have an addiction to our phones. And I love technology, I embrace it. But people are often distracted and looking around and checking their emails, and there really is a real lack of focus. Now, my phone's on airplane mode, my emails are currently off, and that's the way it should be. My attention is focused on you. And being able to listen, not listen so I can sell to you, but just listen so I can help you. That is probably one of the most underrated skills in sales right now. And that's what I would call a soft skill. The second one would be emotional intelligence. Part of that is not being addicted to your phone. Part of that is how you cope with challenges in life. Because right now we're being hit on every corner. I avoid the news a lot, but in the last week, I was very upset by what happened in Australia with the murder of the Jewish people. I was very upset at Brown University, all those students being killed. And I was devastated on Monday that Rob Reiner, in the 80s, everybody talked about Steven Spielberg. All I talked about was Rob Reiner because of This Is Spinal Tap, Princess Bride, The Sure Thing, which is a great teenage comedy, When Harry Met Sally, probably the greatest romantic comedy of all time, and then A Few Good Men, the greatest courtroom drama of all time. I mean, he was remarkable and a lovely human being. When those things happen, it's hard not to let the world take over your brain. And emotional intelligence is controlling that and not reacting and not being in a state of constant panic. And emotional intelligence for me, and I say this to everybody I work with, it's probably the most important skill you can have right now.
Yeah, I'll just add to what you said about, the things that go on in the world right now are just quite overwhelming. And I know that I don't come on and speak about this enough. And the reason why, I'll tell you, Niraj, for me, it's always feel like I'm trying to bring my kind of energy that I think everything is so heavy. I carry it around a lot. It's very difficult to be an empath in this world right now. So as you pointed out, all you have to do is just, your phone, you can't avoid it. It's, if you go down to call somebody, little things come up and tell you something happened in the world. So you see it on the news and so on. But going back to the way you answered that question is that there's this human empathy, kind connection that makes a big difference in the world that you can't automate. You can't have an automated sense of feeling for another human being. And that kind of leads me to another part of what we're talking about, these kinds of soft skills. You mentioned that being a soft skill. Kindness. I know that's something that, you promote a lot in not only in what you say, in what you print, but it's how you conduct yourself, I think, on LinkedIn, at least towards me. I mean, again, all I see is how you conduct yourself, and kindness in business. I know that in the past you framed it in a way that it's, that sales is a service-based profession. So, you encourage selling and stay away from ego and, manipulation and things like that. So kindness, underrated business skill. How do you try to incorporate kindness and giving back into your sales process?
Well, there's two ways. One's the easy and obvious way, which is I have direct debits through various charities. That's just good for your soul. Just giving to charity in general is good for your soul. And a lot of people that I meet say, "Oh, I'll give money when I have money," and I'm like, "Well, if that's your attitude, you're never going to have money. I'm sorry. That's the way it is." So that's the obvious. Every month, Autism NI, Lighthouse, which is suicide prevention, Food Stock, which helps food banks in the city. That's just the obvious stuff. But the bigger stuff on a business level, so that's the soul. And then there's the stuff on the business level, like I help a lot of nonprofits and charities. And when I give LinkedIn advice, and when they come to my office, I don't charge. And often I'll sit on charity boards. Again, I don't charge. But sitting on charity boards are other CEOs. And they hear my advice and they hear how I come across. And they're like, "We like this guy. We should bring him in here to work for our IT company. We should bring him in here to talk to our software guys. We should bring him in here to talk to our teams." And so much business I get is simply because I give advice and help to other people. I'm in a room or on a board with other CEOs. They recognize that and say, "Hey, we could do some help with LinkedIn, or we could do some help with our sales team." And that's paid work. And that's just, I don't do that to get the work. It just happens as a result of helping others.
Yeah, and those are. It sounds very. It's a kindness is a verb, isn't it? It's this proactive approach that you're taking right there when you're saying it's one thing to be polite. I don't know if polite is necessarily kind. I mean, polite can be considered kind, like you said, if people reach out to you through DMs and so on. But this idea of leading with kindness by suggesting, "Hey, let me see if I can genuinely try to help you," obviously seems to work within in the workings that you do. One of the things I like about you here on LinkedIn is your storytelling and your ability to sort of use personal content to share stories, and I know that you're not one for wanting things to be curated and polished and branded stories and all that kind of stuff. You want things to be more grounded and real, and in order to build trust, obviously that's something that you have to do. You share really deep personal stories. I wonder why you feel that that's important for you to do. Then maybe that will resonate with a leader that's listening right now. Why is it important to share these really deep personal stories here on LinkedIn?
It's important to share personal stories because it lets people know who you are behind the job title. I also work in a ferociously competitive industry. And let's be realistic. If you go to a networking event or someone reaches out to you on LinkedIn, and their job title is sales, you really don't want to speak to that person. Nobody's thinking, "Oh God, I wish a salesperson would contact me today." Or at a networking event where I tell people I'm a sales trainer, their face just drops. It just I just feel bad for the person I'm talking to, thinking, oh God. So I always find that by letting people know who I am behind my job title, letting them know I play drums in a rock band, letting them know I do loads of charity work, letting them know the kind of person I am, that it just helps build trust and credibility and lets them know I'm not just a salesperson. So that's very important. The reason I started doing this on LinkedIn, really, I think in anything you do in life, you need a bit of luck. And I started talking about my personal life in 2021 because I went through a traumatic divorce. And I lost the people I thought were my friends weren't my friends or my wife's friends. I had no money left. I was broke. And 2 months later, lockdown happened. So I was living off credit cards and government loans to survive. And I just wasn't coping with life. And I don't do drugs. I don't, I don't gamble. I'm not addicted to porn. I don't do a lot of the bad things that men do when they go down those dark paths. But I did overeat heavily and was diagnosed obese. And my parents are both work for National Health Service in England. Dad's a doctor, mum's a physio. They're into health and said, look, you cannot be obese at your age. It's dangerous. Put everything in storage and come back home. And I did. And I wrote a post on LinkedIn about shame and embarrassment, how I had this great career. Then I got divorced, lost it all. I got a second-hand car and a pension. I got screwed over royally. I'm not going to go into details because my daughter's, she's on social media, and I made a promise I would never criticize her mother ever publicly. I do it privately, but never publicly. I'm never going to do that because no, that was a promise I made to her. But it ended up really badly for me. My ex-wife's very happy. She found a rich guy. She lives a wealthy life. No problem at all. With me, it was the complete opposite. So I had to rebuild my life. And once I wrote about shame and embarrassment and failure, I was shocked on LinkedIn how many hundreds of messages I got from people, complete strangers, saying, don't worry, I've been there. I've failed in life. I've been divorced. I had to live with my parents when things went pear-shaped. And all of a sudden, I found a community of people, which I wasn't expecting. And then a few months later, I talked about, okay, let me try it again. And I talked about the difficulty of finding friends as a man in your late 40s. It is so hard as a man making friends. That post went viral. We're talking 350, 400,000 views viral.
Wow.
And then hundreds of men reached out to me to say they were lonely and they found it difficult making friends and thanking me. I'm like, wow. And then a month later, I wrote about online dating. And then all of a sudden, thousands of women started following me. But unlike just talking about dating, I thought, let me see if I can make this business-like. So I talked about online dating. And every time I would try and say how online dating is like sales. So for example, there'd be a picture of me at a restaurant on a Saturday night, and the table opposite would be empty because I'd been stood up again. And it's horrible getting stood up. It's really horrible on a Saturday night. It affects your confidence quite badly. And I would say things like, you know what? This is horrible. But sometimes in business, clients stand you up. And it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. And those posts, again, it was insane. 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 300 comments. And within a year, I had 20,000 followers. And people are reaching out to me saying, can you teach us how to write stuff like this on LinkedIn? And because I had no income and I had debts to pay, I went, of course I can. and that is how I became a LinkedIn trainer by default. Wow. But people hired me because of my humanity, not because I was a LinkedIn genius, which I'm not and still not because I know everything about LinkedIn, because I don't. And by the way, you don't have to. But I could teach people how to write stories and create emotion and build relationships. And most people don't think about that when it comes to LinkedIn. But being able to do that is one of the greatest skills you can have.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing some of that story. I'm going to put it up in a second here to talk about your TED Talk, How Vulnerability Changed My Life. That's the name of it, everybody. So all you have to do is type that in. It's a TEDx talk. And like you said, your ability to be able to communicate that in a very vulnerable, transparent way. It's fascinating that you hear from men. Because I know, and you might experience this. I experience this a lot in my life, where gentlemen, guys, just in general, wherever I am, seem to feel comfortable with, like, even when I just meet them, they feel very comfortable with instantly telling me stuff that I'm just kind of sitting there and, hey, how you doing? And next thing they're sharing stuff, and I'm like, wow, they're experiencing things that I experience and that I know that other people experience. But as men, we don't talk about that stuff.
We don't.
We're just not taught. I don't mean to say that in a in a way that men shouldn't. It's quite the opposite. It's just that we never grew up thinking like that. If you grew up playing sports, if you grew up, hey, you played in a rock and roll band. I mean, rock and roll bands are similar in that sort of feel. Like it's a gang, and you're taught to kind of hold your ground, and you do things like that. I'm fascinated that people resonated with that, especially on the male side.
Mm.
And like I said, I just appreciate you sharing that, because I want to show people a little bit more about your TED talk, about how vulnerability changed your life. You said, I don't like talking you just mentioned, you said, I want to be very respectful for your situation, but you really dove into very, very personal things during that TED talk. And that was a couple of years ago, but you went into, you talked about an arranged marriage. You talked about this idea of feeling where you weren't worthy. You became successful, but then of course you weren't happy. And then you tried to go out on your own, and your spouse for a little while supported you, and you felt this real ego attack on your ego. And then all of these things, but you shared all of those things so intimately and personally. Why did you need to do that? What was that need, that desire to share that? Was it a cleansing? What is it? Because I think there's sales leaders out there thinking, do I need to do that? Should I be more transparent? Why did you feel you needed to do that?
Well, I wanted to do a TED talk on sales. He wouldn't let me. That was it. And literally, the guy who was arranging a TED talk, I ran a sales and marketing event with two friends in Belfast. It was sold out. We had 70 people in the room, all paid. It was amazing. And it was Sean Grant. And Sean approached me afterwards saying, "You've just talked about email writing for the last hour, and it was interesting." And I loved how you worked the room, because most sales trainers and most LinkedIn coaches, I'm sorry, they're not very interesting. They stand and they read from slides.
Mm,
It's so boring.
mm,
And when I train, because I worked as a professional speaker and trained as one, I interact with an audience. I know how to work a room.
mm.
I'm very comfortable with pauses. I interact with the audience. And these are really important skills to have that most sales trainers and most LinkedIn coaches I met simply do not have, because I've seen them in action. I've done a lot of partnerships with people. I'm like, really? This is what you do? Just read from slides for an hour? You have to do better than that. And so they wouldn't let me talk about sales. So that was it. And they said, "We want you to talk about your life because your story is fascinating." And I wasn't quite sure about it, but I did. And I just felt, you know what, if I can talk about this, because when you're going through a divorce and you're going through pain, you think you're the only person going through it. And of course, you realize afterwards you're not, but at the time you think you are. And I just kind of talked about it in the hope it would help other people. And I'm so grateful it did. I mean, this talk didn't take off the way I hoped it would. Because after the TED talk, people were queuing to the door to meet me. And I thought, finally, this is my big break. People are going to know who I am. It's going to go big. I'm going to be the next Simon Sinek. That's what I wanted to be, because I love Simon Sinek's work and Brené Brown's, but they reached millions of views. I barely reached 3,000 views. It just did appallingly bad. And
Well,
you'll know this.
yeah, I just want to jump in. Yeah, it's like, for me, I'll just, as a musician, this, it's like a great song. If a great song doesn't hit the ears, it doesn't change the fact it's a great song. So I know that the messaging is there, and I know that. So the fact that it didn't hit the audience or an audience just yet, so I'll just jump in and protect a little bit of that for
Okay, I
you, because
appreciate that.
I
And
think the content is really resonates with a lot of people. It's, again, just hasn't been heard yet. But continue on, my
no,
friend.
thank you. I appreciate that. And you and I both know, as lovers of rock music, there's a lot of Canadian bands. You're from Canada. I love bands like Honeymoon Suite, my favorite
Oh,
Canadian rock
I
band.
love it.
Love, and I saw them in England live about 2009. And they were singing Love Changes Everything and What Does It Take? And What Does It Take should have been a #1 hit around the world.
I agree.
And so should Love Changes Everything. Great songs, never made it. And then you had bands like Loverboy, who were big for like a year or two and then disappeared. And I saw Mike Reno and Loverboy in 2016 in England. Again, amazing. Whereas people like Bryan Adams, who are slightly more talented, became a big worldwide sensation.
True.
Massive. But
True.
Molly Hatchet didn't. So sometimes you do great work, but it just
Yes.
doesn't get appreciated sometimes on the level you expect or hope. And it's really important in life. just to try to make peace with that. Otherwise, you will drive yourself mad. And I was really upset after my TED talk, thinking, why is this not resonating with people? Because people were sending me messages on LinkedIn. People were emailing me through my website saying, thank you so much. It's amazing. But it just didn't take off on YouTube in the way that I kind of hoped it would.
Right.
But the fact that it resonated with people meant a lot to me, the ones it did. And the fact that I told the stories I did, I just know from working in sales, people connect with stories 10 times more than stats or a pie chart.
Right.
And stories resonate with people. And that's why I told the stories that I did in my TED talk, because I wanted it to connect with people and make it more memorable for them so that they could remember and take action going forward.
Beautifully said. And again, well, first of all, kudos to you for knowing all those Canadian bands and those songs. I appreciate that. But it makes the point, which is that the exposure of where it goes, and who sees it, and then how people relate to it. Not always are the same thing. I mean, obviously, the people that do have heard your talk, and again, I hope that here on this LinkedIn Live, more people will just at least find it and share it and talk about it a little bit. I'm just wondering, and you don't have to go into great detail about this, but I heard you said you were thinking, wow, this is my big break. When you were watching yourself there on that clip, did you think is that why you might have been using it? Was part of your ego hoping that people would grasp onto that and the next level of opportunity would show up? I'm just curious, because I know sometimes I do things and I go, Peter, did you do that for the right reason? Did you be honest with yourself?
I did the TEDx talk for the right reason, because I knew it'd be very difficult. And you have to unlearn everything you've learned in your life as a professional speaker. So when you do a TED talk, you don't interact with an audience. You cannot move across the stage. You have to stay still in this red dot. And to do that for 15 minutes is unbelievably difficult. So I'll talk on stage like this. I'll talk on stage like this. I'll ask questions. I'll walk into the audience. You cannot do, I have to unlearn everything. So for me, I did it because I knew it would challenge me, first and foremost. But of course, in the back of your mind, every time you do something big and scary and challenging, whether it's writing a book or launching a podcast or anything, you always want to connect with people on a bigger level. And I think because so many people, of all the speakers, were queuing to meet me the most, and were queuing to meet me and say thank you, I thought, wow, I've never had a reception like this in my life. This is really going to go. And so I just figured it would go big. But it didn't. And that did affect my ego, because a lot of the speakers who spoke that night were getting a lot of speaking opportunities and talking about speaking opportunities. And I'm like, I got nothing. And that was like, that did knock the sales out of me a bit. And unfortunately, it does knock your confidence a bit. When you work on anything, no matter what it is, and you put heart and soul and spend months working on it, and you think it's going to be big, and it doesn't go according to plan, it does affect your confidence. You think, oh God, am I any good?
Absolutely.
Am I delusional?
Right.
You think that, you think, oh God, what's wrong? Was my ego so out of control? Why did I get this so wrong for? And sadly, that does happen sometimes,
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, and this is, it always brings up my idea of visibility and credibility, is that sometimes the people that get seen the most, not necessarily, I don't know, maybe the credibility is there, maybe it's not, and vice versa. It seems like the platforms today play to an algorithm that that you wonder if the credibility and is equal to the visibility, and vice versa. So in your particular case, when you started talking about the idea that the TED Talk didn't maybe get to the people that you wanted it to reach, it certainly doesn't change the credibility of it. I just wanted to throw that in there because I just think the TED Talk was fantastic. I admire it. I admire the fact, because I'm just being transparent. I don't have that courage in me as of yet. I do my best to be open and transparent and share things. And I've shared some things about my health and things like that, but there's a lot of things that I've yet to share in a public setting. And simply because the courage part, I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's my ego. I don't think it is, but I'm not sure what it is. But that's why I admire the fact that you were willing to do that and tell that story. And maybe again, more sales leaders, more business people will recognize the idea that that's what connects us. That's what makes us like, wow, I didn't know that about Niraj. I didn't know he felt like that about himself at one time. I didn't know that he went through that experience. So when he speaks to me in a boardroom, he's speaking from, he's been there, done that. He knows what he's talking about, at least from his perspective. So I appreciate you sharing that. I hope you've been noticing. I just been putting up some of the comments there, and I just wanted to remind you there, Niraj or Chris just says
Oh,
incredibly
lovely.
inspiring
Thank you,
story.
Chris.
And Jacqueline's still here. It is. It's challenging to do.
Really is.
By the way, Jacqueline has an amazing TED Talk as well, Niraj. So I just want to let you know that, Jacqueline, you want to check that out. Hers actually did reach a lot of people. So I'll let you go watch the numbers, what they are.
I made a note to do that. Thank you.
She did a fantastic job with that, and then of course with her the whole idea of give a 365 give, and so go check that out. But I recommend everybody to please do that. So Jacqueline, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that you were part of this conversation here, and we appreciate that. I know we're running. Listen, do you know how much time we need to kind of go through all this stuff? So I wanted to put something together for you.
Okay.
And we can do it very, very quickly, because I know what you do when it comes to your sales, training, and all of the skills that you share with people, and all the things you do on LinkedIn. So I want to recommend to everybody right now, please go to the website. You'll learn more about exactly what Niraj does and how he can help you. And of course, here on LinkedIn, connect with him, and you'll see all of the posts and so on. I could go through every single one of them, but I want to do what you said earlier. I want us to have more of a conversation here about things that we wouldn't normally talk about, and then we get to learn a little bit more, so that when we hear your professional advice, we go, oh, that's where it's coming from. It's coming from a place where of experience, if you will. So what I'm going to do right this second, Niraj, and I'm excited about this. I don't know. I hope you will be. We're going to see in a second here, is that I want to do something called reflections. I want to do some reflections with you. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just throw up some pictures, and I just want you to comment on them. That's all. And by the way, these aren't any secret. These are all found on social media. So I didn't hire anyone to go and do anything like that. So I just wanted to share that with you. But let's go down through some reflections. Who are these fine, lovely people right
there? That was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. I spoke with that on LinkedIn because they both came to the country. They were immigrants. They both had very tough journeys. And, my father got an MBE from, it was Prince Charles at the time. Now he's King Charles of England, for all the work he did for charity and as a doctor. But really his charity work, he spent his 30 years every weekend working free of charge, helping people whose families had cancer. Never asked for a penny, never got a penny. And just, he did for 30 years. And that's called making a difference to me. And Mom, of course, not only supported him doing that, but she works as a physiotherapist, helping people with special needs and learning difficulties, and kept the family together. And there are two people I have utmost admiration and respect for, and I'm so lucky, especially at my age, they're still around.
Oh, good for you. There are some good-looking people right there. I recognize three. Who's over your shoulder there?
Oh, that's Rachel. So
that was brand new.
That was last summer. So I chose to live by the coast because it's so beautiful. It's really funny, Peter. Growing up, you live by the coast and you have beautiful greenery and beaches. You think this is so boring. But as an adult, you think it's the greatest place in the world. I mean, it really is. And 100%. Portrush this year became famous because of the Gulf Open. And of course, 10 years ago, because of Game of Thrones, all the beautiful countryside. I have 4 beaches within 20 minutes of my house. 4. Oh. And I have gorgeous walks within half an hour. And that's why we live here. I mean, we live in all fairness, the poorest part of town. We do. Okay. I mean, I do. Hands up. I live in because I wanted to live in this area, which is the most expensive part of.
Kind of like Love Actually. You're in the dodgy end. You're in the dodgy.
I'm the dodgy end of the most expensive part. But I wanted to live here, so I said, we're just going to live in the end of terraced house. But yeah, this is me getting my parents out to the coast, buying them ice cream, and just being able to take them for a walk on the beach. Simple things like that are really important in life, and. People are always striving to do more and achieve more in business. And that's very important, of course. Yeah. But I think when you get to your 50s, you see life a bit differently.
Yes, sir.
And while business is very important to me and I put a lot of hours in, I spend so much of my free time doing charity work, going to rock concerts, and with family. That's pretty much all I do. I don't waste hours binge watching Netflix every night. I just don't. I really make the most of my life. This was in 2014. So we found out about it, and my wife at the time said, look, I should go with you to Buckingham Palace because, you know, my ex-wife is beautiful and glamorous and they'll appreciate that. I said, look, I'm your eldest son. I should go. And my wife and I were having this disagreement. And my daughter called my grandfather and said, look, mom and dad are arguing. I'm the first grandchild, take me, and end up taking her. So I think when you get the MBE, I think you get two free passes or two free guest passes. So he took obviously his wife, my mom, and he took my daughter. So none of us went. Just that was it. And,
who's this guy? Who's this guy? What's he thinking? What's he thinking right there? What's that guy thinking?
That was 1991 summer, back when I had hair and a six-pack. And that is me dreaming of just hanging out with Jon Bon Jovi, who even today I'm still obsessed with Bon Jovi. I love them to bits. And that was my goal, was to be the Indian Bon Jovi. The problem is nobody told me I had to have talent to succeed. You know, it was like I could play the drums very well.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Back then, you did need talent, but and this is going to sound like a dig, and it's not a dig. I'm saying there's people that make full albums and all these, and never play an instrument, never go to a bar to play their music, set up, tear down, put it into a van, drive, rehearse. There's tons of people that do that today. So back then, because in 1991, I was a drummer in a professional rock band, and I toured and I played, and I know exactly what you're referring to there. So I didn't want that to slide by. It's so true. You needed really, you know, a lot of talent, and when you went out and you started playing, you're like, wow, yeah, there's some talented musician.
I was a decent songwriter, not brilliant, decent, 6 out of 10. I knew how to structure a song, but I wasn't original. But vocally, I was terrible. And you got to have a certain charisma and a sex appeal, which I didn't understand. And I was an awkward teenager, so there's just it wasn't going to work. But again, nobody told me I couldn't do it, so I just went out and did it. And even though part of me was disappointed and I never made it, I know so many people I meet in their 50s and 60s who look back in life, Peter, with regret. I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd traveled for 6 months. I wish I'd written the book, whatever it might be. I have no regrets because I did it. Yes, I failed, but my God, I did it. And I spent years saving, stacking shelves in a supermarket to pay to go into a studio with musicians. You know, it was done properly.
I totally relate. Totally relate.
3 years of my life saving, and then 2 weeks in the summer recording everything. And then I took the tape and I went to London and walked into Epic and walked into Polygram and walked into Warner Brothers and walked into Virgin saying, I'm going to be the next Indian Bon Jovi. You guys should really pay attention to me. And they all went, no, we don't have to. And then I gave them my tape and they went, someone will be in touch. I'm like, really? I'm not going to meet anybody. And I did everything, but nobody would talk to me. Nobody would meet me. And after a few months, I just got all the standard generic rejections. Thank you. You're not what we're looking for, which doesn't really help. But that's the kind of rejection they gave you.
I totally relate to that, because again, 1991, by the way, and I'll add to this, playing in a rock band, and again playing the music of Bon Jovi, these kinds of things. Remember what was happening in 1991? That's Enter Sandman came out. The Seattle sound was starting to be big. There was a crossover into country music because Garth Brooks was at the top of the list. So the music was changing from the Bon Jovi.
Took over.
Yeah, it just changed a lot. So I know exactly what you're talking about because I lived it. I know that exact feeling. Who's this lovely young person?
That's my stepdaughter. So my stepdaughter, this post went viral in July this year. So the post was, my stepdaughter has got an amazing life story. I would love to talk about it, but I can't because she's a private person. And Rachel, who was my fiance at the time, has got an amazing life story as a single mom and how she brought up 2 kids. And oh my God, her story is unbelievable. But she's a private person and I can't share it. So I just wanted to say I'm really proud of my stepdaughter, who's now qualified, who got a law degree. I was just so proud of her. So proud.
Oh, I love it. No, I appreciate that and respect the privacy. This post, do you know when this post happened and what went along with this post? Because I'm going to focus in on it because it's unbelievable. I don't know if you remember this. Do you recognize that picture and what post it was associated with?
I'm trying to remember. Could it have been the fact I hadn't seen my daughter for a year?
I think so. I'm going to tell you why it resonated with me. I went back and looked at your posts, and I kind of do some of my homework when I do this kind of stuff. And I went back. I was in 4 years ago. 4 years ago, you were writing things like this. Now I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit on that. But it says, for example, December in 2019, my divorce had reached a breaking point and moved out of my family home. I couldn't find anywhere decent to live at the last minute, so rented a tiny rundown welfare flat in
Oh,
Winslow.
this is horrible.
Does that resonate? Yeah, you can bring
Yeah,
yourself, you live this.
totally.
You know, I worked nonstop to get through isolation. On Christmas Day, all alone, I had a complete breakdown. Wow. 2019. Wow. Can you go there for 2 seconds? Does that blew my mind when I read that. I was like, wow, he was on his own on that day. And I try to then go back to 2019 for myself and say, what was I doing on that day? And thinking that you were by yourself and you literally felt that you were having some sort of, you know, breakdown, if you will. I don't mean to bring it up. I just think it's so I mean, you shared it. Obviously, I mean, the story continues, by the way. And you went to December 2020 and you left England. You talked about that. And in December 2021, where things have turned around and so on. But that 2019 post really struck me. And
Yeah, I think
gosh,
the post was actually probably 2020 or 2021 because it says 4 years ago, so it would have been
yeah, 4 years
2020.
ago. Yes, that's right.
I was just
2021.
reflecting. 2019 was brutal. I was too embarrassed to call my parents to say I'm alone, and I was just been through the divorce. And you know, men, we don't cope the way women cope. Women are more resilient than men, believe it or not, when it comes to relationships. And also, women are very good at forming friendships. So my ex-wife had her friends to talk about this, and her neighbors. I had nobody. And the few friends I thought I had said, "Look, my wife's taking your wife's side. It's nothing personal. I can't talk to you." I'm like, "Come on, God." And that really, uh, when you're nearly at 40s and you have no one to talk to, and you spend Christmas by yourself, I was just freaking out. And I couldn't, there was no internet. I just moved into the house. There was no internet yet.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I can't talk to anybody. I can't watch TV wasn't set up, nothing. It was just, it was so lonely. And isolation will kill you. People will talk about drugs all the time, how drugs will kill you. And, you know, too much alcohol will kill you, which of course is true. But loneliness, especially now in the world, is one of the biggest things that's destroying people's mental health. And I kind of experienced that for a few months, and it was just brutal.
Wow.
It really
Wow.
was. And I think I just did that post to show people that when you go through tremendous pain in life and suffering, you know, you got two choices. You can bring the whole world down with you, which isn't a smart thing to do, which sadly a lot of men do, or you can try and get better. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful I spent years doing personal development, going to Tony Robbins events. I said, right, I've got to get better. And when I eventually did get better, it's because I went into therapy. I
Mm.
worked my mindset. I meditated. I kept giving to charity, even though I had almost nothing to give. I just kept doing stuff for others, serving others, but also improving myself. It was a painfully slow process, very difficult. It took me about a year and a half to rebuild my life. And that's living with my parents, by the way, um, who were really gracious because I've met so many men my age, Peter, who've been through what I've been through. One of them lives around the corner. He's
Mm.
still on welfare after 5 years. He can't get off it. And he lives off welfare and he takes cash in hand jobs. He's not getting better. He surrounds himself with people who are just not good for him. And also his parents don't really talk to him. I met another guy, he hasn't got a father he can talk to. Another guy, his mom's an alcoholic. You know, it's only when you look back in your life and reflect, you realize how lucky I was to have two parents who said, look, we hate the situation you're in. Divorce is very bad in Indian society. You're the first member of our family to get divorced. We're really not happy with this, but you're ill. I mean, sorry.
That's okay. Take your time. It's okay, brother. Take your time. Take your time.
You're ill, and we want you to get better. And to hear that was so important. I can't tell you how important that was.
Appreciate you sharing that, my friend. I appreciate you sharing that. I went back to, and I'm just take a second there. I appreciate you sharing that emotion with us. Take your time. Um, I'll just set up this picture here for you. I went back to see, how far back, I think this is about 7 years ago on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. And but just catch your breath here for a second. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I was moved by the picture of the two girls. That's what when I was going through all your pictures, I was just like, you have a lot of great female energy, and I know you talk about that a lot in your business as well, that you have a lot of female energy in your life. And kudos to your parents for being able to recognize where you were at that moment in time
They were
and being
great
able.
because, like I said, I've met a lot of people who don't have that parental support. Because at our age, you often don't. At our age, you often have fathers who don't really know how to talk. And my father
Mm.
doesn't do hugs or say I love yous, but you could tell he cared. And again, having a father that's a doctor, he's seen a lot of stuff in his life. So yeah, I'm really grateful, very grateful.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that, my friend. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to bring that. This is the first picture I could find of you that you posted on LinkedIn
Yeah, that was
of
my first
yourself.
job as a
Yeah.
business owner. Yeah,
Who
that
is that
was.
guy? Do you recognize that guy? What's he thinking right there? I wonder. 7 years
Yeah,
ago.
he's about 30 pounds heavier and not as well groomed as what he is now. And that was me because when you're starting a business off, being good at what you do and being good at running a business are two different skills. Okay. There's a lot of very talented people I know who don't make money because they can't run a business. A lot of very smart business people who aren't really good at what they do, but they're very good at business. And at the time, I was good at what I did. I wasn't as good as I am now, but I was good, but I didn't know how to run a business. So I spent every morning, every afternoon, every evening going to networking events and just networking, networking, networking. And I realized it was good, but I wasn't winning business. And that's why I started to train as a professional speaker, thinking if I can learn to speak at events, maybe that will help me. And of course it did, because people connect with you on a different level when you can stand in front of an audience with tremendous confidence and just talk to them naturally.
Mm.
That's very important. And that was how I was able to connect with people and build a business. It didn't build as quickly maybe as it should have done. Um, but at least it was building from nothing. Because literally I was starting with nothing. And it's really hard in life when you've had a corporate career and a steady income and a pension and perks and things like that and company credit cards to all of a sudden start from zero in your
Mm.
late 40s with no business skills. That took much longer than I ever imagined it would.
I can imagine. Well, I do imagine because I know that story and I've not shared mine as well. So this get back, it's back why I admire you sharing these things with people and how they see you and then and again where you come from. I appreciate that. I know animals play a role in your life. Who's this person right here? With
This is lovely. This is Winnie. So I never grew up with pets. And when I worked in London, because in my days there was no work-life balance, nobody cared about work-life balance. Nobody. You worked 5 days a week and that was it. If you didn't do it, you were fired. So I never had the opportunity to have pets because I worked long hours and commuted. So when I met Rachel, she had 4 cats and a kitten.
Mm.
And at the beginning, you'd be sitting on the sofa, the cat would jump onto the sofa, I would scream, the cat run away. It took me quite a while to get used to having cats. I've never been around cats before.
Mm.
And now I just absolutely adore them. I mean, I love those cats. And that's Winnie. And again, she's absolutely adorable. And
Um,
it's interesting. Sometimes you come home, the cats look at you like, we don't care how your day has been, just feed us. They're
of
not like
course.
dogs. They're just like teenagers, really. Just feed me and leave me alone. But sometimes you're on the sofa and you ignore them, then they approach you like teenagers do. And I ignore my stepdaughter. She's very nice to me because she'll approach me and talk to me. And that's what the cats do. They approach you and talk to you. And sometimes they just sit beside you and don't say anything. And sometimes they're much more affectionate and they cuddle you. And that's what it's like with the cats. It's a very unusual relationship, but I've really embraced it. And I
Mm.
can't even imagine a life now without pets. I really can't.
Oh, that's fantastic. That was your TED Talk. We talked about the TED Talk, so I'll just jump over that. These awards I mentioned earlier, LinkedIn has recognized you. Salesforce, I know you've posted about them a little bit and stuff. I'm just curious, when you see stuff like this and you see the awards and you receive them, and um, how does that make you feel? I mean, I know it's a simple question, but is it that important to you, or is it something that deep down, is there something behind that personal story you just told, for example? Is it something where you're thinking, wow, I think I'm worthy? I think, is it a feeling
Interesting.
of
The
that?
LinkedIn Top Voice Award was amazing because it opened up doors for me.
Mm.
Whereas Salesforce, to win the Salesforce, top 30 in the world, that's more impressive, but yet nobody really cared about it. You tell people you're a Salesforce, and they go, "Yeah, okay." But you tell people you're a top voice, they tend to listen more. A lot of people still don't care about the LinkedIn award,
Mm.
but more people do. But the Salesforce ones are way more impressive, way more impressive. But when you tell people at Salesforce you won this award, they really don't care. You have to fight for business like everybody else. That surprised me. But I'm proud of them because I know what I had to do to earn them.
Right. That's what I mean. You know the story, and that's what I'm thinking that really resonates, that you know the story. I found you taking pictures with this person. Who's this person?
So this is
If no one
Rachel,
doesn't know.
who's not my wife. This would have been 2023. The top left and the bottom right are fascinating. So the top left is Dairy Girls, which is the biggest TV show in the last 10 years in Ireland. And not just the biggest, the best and the funniest by a mile. We did a little tour in Derry. And the bottom right is Father Ted. So Father Ted was this politically incorrect show in the early 90s, which was a cult classic, and people still talk about it today. And we managed to find the house where it was based. It's the middle of nowhere. You have a single lane, so when cars come down, it is chaos.
Right.
And we turned up, and this American family turned up, and they're like, "We're Father Ted fans." Like, we're Father Ted fans, and that was me trying to be Father Ted. The rain was pouring from the skies. It was a horrific day, as you can tell. The rain's blasting our faces. And that was wonderful. And the picture next to it is in Porto. I spoke at a top sales summit in Porto in September 2 years ago, and that was amazing. And they couldn't pay my fee. And I said, "Don't worry, I'll do it remotely." And then a few months later, they came forward saying the Portuguese government have stepped in, and we can't pay your fee, but we'll fly you and your partner out for 4 days in Portugal. I'm like, "Are you crazy? I'd love that." So they flew us out. The first time and the only time it's ever happened. And I spoke at the event. And then spent 3 days discovering Porto in Portugal, which is a stunningly beautiful city.
Oh, see, that's magic. So no one, see, I wouldn't know that story. I wouldn't know that story. And listen, I'm just going to secretly tell you, I like port. So for me to go there, yeah, I can bathe in port, just so you know. I saw you share this again. This goes back to you sharing great personal stories and very intimate sort of stories. Just curious, not only what does this sort of memories it brings back, but why again, why did you feel it was so important that people understood this part of your life, I wonder?
This was important because I think the post, to my knowledge, says something like, I spent years alone. It was very difficult for me. It's very difficult in late 40s to find love, but I never gave up. I think it's very important. I meet so many people my age. I'm 53 now. I meet so many women, especially, who've just given up. I understand why women give up, because women already have great female friendships, so they don't need men the way men really need women.
Hmm.
Men need to be in a relationship. We're not very good by ourselves, whereas women are very good at friendships, and women are now independent, earning their own living, and they don't need men as much. Men need women a lot more. And I wanted to just show people, look, don't give up. It's so easy to give up when you get your heart broken or when life doesn't go according to plan. I never gave up. I think Rachel is the 74th or 75th person I met in online dating. That
Wow.
that I did not, because I refused. I said, I'm going to meet 100 women and see what happens. And I never gave up. She was, I think, 74, 75. And so the post was about not giving up and finding love. And what was fascinating about this viral post, which went huge, was 4 bridal companies reached out to me saying, "We love your tone of voice. We love how you come across. I've gone through some of your past posts. Can you come in and train our sales staff?" And I
Come
won 3.
on.
Yeah, and that was amazing, because a lot of people working in bridal companies are young women in their 20s, but the people they have to sell to are mothers of the bride who are in their 40s or 50s. And so that's really difficult for people that young to try to sell to people that old. There's a massive disconnect. And I had to go in there and teach them how to form relationships, and not just say, "Oh, you look beautiful in that wedding dress. It was made for you." No, that's not good enough. You have to listen. You have to be able to talk to women in their 50s and not sound insincere or corny or like you're trying to sell a wedding dress. How do you do that? And that's what I had to do. And that was amazing. So that was actually a lovely personal post, which really benefited me financially in ways I didn't expect.
Wow. See, that insight right there, that just kind of, that solidified everything we were talking about earlier. This idea of how far do you go with this idea of sharing personal or separating professional from personal. It's so blurred. personal branding, all of those things. But again, just back to basic storytelling that resonates with the idea that that's what you do every day. When people are selling, they're actually, you're interacting with people's lives. You're not just trying to, do a transaction. You're trying to actually engage with their lives. And that's a great story that kind of, shares that whole feeling. And of course you shared pictures after. So I just want to, I'm sure that brings you back a smile, but that's only like a couple of weeks ago. So
that was the 4th of December. I only promoted it, I think, on the 9th of December, which is the last day. We had a little mini moon because I'm saving up for a proper honeymoon next year. I couldn't do a wedding and a honeymoon as well, which is too much for me. So I'm going to save up. It'll take 6 months. I'll save up. We'll go somewhere really lovely. But we just did London for a few days because, again, I know London. I know where to go, and Rachel loves London as well. So the last day of our holiday in London, I did this post. I started writing the post. It was quite a detailed post. And Rachel says, "You're not meant to be working." I thought, "You're right, I'm not meant to be working." So I deleted the whole post and I simply wrote, "I love a happy ending, heart emoji." That was it. That the shortest post I've written in my life. And it's
I
had
see
500
that.
comments, and it's had, I think, roughly over 1,000 likes, and it did amazingly well. It hasn't created any business. That's okay, because not every big post does. But the amount of love I got from that post was really quite spectacular, and I'm so incredibly grateful for it.
Oh, fantastic. I saw this picture on your website. And after you sharing everything that you just talked about today, and your family, your parents, and the things you've been through, your TED talk, the vulnerability, all of that part of it. Who's that guy? Who's that guy right there?
That was fascinating. That was about 3 and a bit years ago after my book came out, and I got a professional photographer, Aidan Roberts, lovely guy, and he took pictures in Belfast with me, uh, and it was just something a bit different I hadn't done before. And I got those professional photographs done because some local newspaper, I hired a PR person locally, and they got me in the local newspapers. Or I should say the national newspapers, really, but national newspapers in Northern Ireland, not the UK. And he took some pictures, and that was actually quite a fun experience. People have no idea how cold it was, by the way. I had an overcoat with me, and I had to keep throwing it off during the break and then putting it back on because it was so cold.
Fantastic. And right now, you're 3 years later. I wonder, do you see anything in that face that we don't see? What are you seeing? Anything that you're thinking, wow,
I'm seeing a guy a lot bigger because obviously for my wedding I lost so much weight. I was trying to lose weight. It's really hard losing weight in your 50s. And I love sugar. I
yes.
love rich food. I don't eat out of loneliness. I eat because it tastes great.
Yeah.
It wasn't working. I just wasn't losing. I was getting stronger. My shoulders, my chest become much broader. I'm looking better, but I wasn't losing weight. And I went and saw a homeopathic doctor. And this is why you should always invest in yourself. And that's why I always say, pay people money to help you. It's the smartest thing you will ever do. You want to see a health practitioner, pay them. You want advice in sales, pay a coach like me. You pay because you get results faster. And she said to me, did some tests, say, bread is killing you. Dairy is killing you. Stop it right now for 6 weeks. Let your stomach heal. And then
Right.
after 6 weeks, slowly introduce it. So I quit for 6 weeks. I lost 2 stone, which is about 28 pounds.
Mm,
And that was amazing.
that's a
And
lot.
I looked good and I felt fantastic at my wedding. I was constantly hungry, but I was craving during the wedding vows. Okay, just constant noise. I'm so glad there was no microphone on me because my stomach was just going. But I didn't eat all day at my wedding until dinner in the evening, and even then I
Oh,
barely ate any dinner because I wanted to look good for this. I'm glad I did, and I
right.
lost that 2 stone. I probably put on maybe 6 pounds in the last week just because I'm eating bread and dairy again. But
Yeah,
that was,
yeah.
it's more under control now.
That's okay. I mean, that's okay. Bottom line is, though, I mean, just to again having that self-awareness of where you are, what you like to do, and then make those adjustments. I mean, that's basically some of your business. You talk to people, recognize what's working, what's not working, and go down another path with it. Now, listen, I'm just trying to be very conscious of your time. I know someone's waiting for you to have dinner. Yeah, I know that's what I told you. I've told you before. I knew what this was going to be like. I just knew what it was going to be like. But there's no way I can get out of here without, we have to address your shirts and your passion for music. So I want to do a little this or that with you. This or that. This is there it is right there. This or that. It's a really simple one. And the fun part of it is that it's going to be the music version of this or that. So this will be fun. This will get people to understand a little bit more. I know we talk about rock music and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know enough about you to know where you are with that world. So let's start really quick. No right or wrong. Just going to say 2 words and you just tell me one or the other. Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Ooh.
It's one or the other.
When I was young, the Beatles. I'm an adult, Rolling Stones.
Okay, I could go in all kinds of directions. I appreciate that. Elvis or Bob Dylan?
Oh, Elvis, by a mile.
Really? Okay. Okay. Interesting. And you judge that because of?
Because Elvis was the first artist I ever fell in love with or heard as a kid, and I still listen to his music now. Whereas Bob Dylan, All Along the Watchtower, I like, and Blowing the Wind is very good, but I don't find that interesting at all in interviews, or I don't find him charismatic. I just don't. He was very important for his generation, but I don't really know anybody who listens to his music or raves about him. I don't. Whereas Elvis, I still talk to people about, and his music still resonates today.
All right. No, fair enough. Guns N' Roses or Def Leppard?
I'm seeing Def Leppard in June. So I probably have listened to their music slightly more, not much. So I'd say Def Leppard.
Oh, nicely done. Nicely done. David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Oh, Sammy Hagar. By a mile. Only because when I saw Bon Jovi in Wembley, they were the last people to play Wembley Stadium 1996, and the support act was Van Halen. And Sammy Hagar sang. And I never got into Van Halen until Sammy Hagar came along with a 5150 album. And Dreams is still my favorite Van Halen song. Love Walks In is an unbelievable song. Human Beings is amazing. So just all my favorite songs, apart from Jump, all my favorite Van Halen songs were with Sammy Hagar.
I understood. Aerosmith or Motley Crue?
I've seen Aerosmith 3 times. And I love Steve Tyler. And all her best music was co-written with a guy called Desmond Child, who's my songwriting hero. And of course, Desmond Child wrote Living in a Prayer, You Gotta Love a Bad Name. He's one of the greatest songwriters of all time. And all my favorite Aerosmith songs are written with Desmond Child. So Aerosmith has to be them.
What a great live band, aren't they? They are such a great live band. Unbelievable. Great live band. For you as a fan in the audience, outdoor big stadium show or a packed nightclub?
My favorite gig of all time was Bon Jovi 1990 King's Hall, Belfast. 7,000 people. That's very small. It's the smallest any of the big bands have ever played. And it's still the best concert I've been to because it felt intimate. I saw Rolling Stones 3 years ago at Hyde Park in London. Incredible watching Mick Jagger on that stage. Unbelievable watching him move. He was 77, I think, at the time. And he moved. You wouldn't believe. But it didn't feel personal because Hyde Park is so big. It just didn't feel personal. And and even Bryan Adams this year, he played at the SSE Arena. I would imagine, I'm only guessing, say 15,000 people. Again, it felt personal. I saw Bryan Adams last year and this year, but it felt personal. But if that was Wembley Stadium, I mean, AC/DC at Wembley Stadium was like a phenomenal experience. It wasn't personal, but it was just an incredible show. And seeing fathers with their sons and seeing grandfathers with their grandsons.
Wow.
That's something I didn't expect to be so moved by. And seeing so many young kids there. I mean, everybody was having a great time and the atmosphere was incredible, but it wasn't personal. It didn't feel personal. It just felt like it was a great show and everybody should go see AC/DC just for the experience,
Yeah. It's funny you say about Bryan Adams with 15,000. That's still a lot of people. And to make that feel intimate, that's a skill.
Yeah. Bryan was great. And the concert he did this year, he talked a lot about Palestine. And then he did a political song at the very end. He actually came with his guitar into the middle of the audience, surrounded by security, and sang. And that was very personal because I'm here and Bryan Adams is just there. It was incredible.
Wow. Yeah, I know that. I know the feeling. We feel really, really connected to it. Hey, I got to throw in a Bon Jovi question. We got to talk about the Bon Jovi hair, slippery when wet or keep the faith. That time. Remember those two? Two styles?
My phone case is Keep the Faith.
Yeah, right.
But Slippery When Wet is one of the greatest rock albums of all time. And still today, 40 years later now almost, it's still flawless. Whereas Keep the Faith, there's like 5 or 6 unbelievable songs on it, like Keep the Faith, the opener, I Believe, All I Wanted Is You, which is a fantastic love song. You know, Dry County, which is just superb. Was Dry County in that? Was that on these days? But anyway, Keep the Faith was great, but there was a lot of songs I didn't like on it, whereas February was just flawless.
Ah, got it. How about the hairstyle though? Think of his hair in Slippery When Wet or Keep the
Oh no,
Faith.
his hair and Keep the Faith is much better, much more
Oh,
round.
you like that? Oh, you like that show?
Yeah, the shorter hair works better.
Oh. Okay, got it. How about this? AC/DC, which you got a shirt on. AC/DC or Led Zeppelin?
AC/DC.
Wow.
Only because I have more of their music.
Hmm.
I've listened to their music more. And when you see somebody in concert, you connect with them differently. You just do. I've always been a Bruce Springsteen fan. When I saw him in concert, I just appreciate him on a different level because nobody puts on a concert like Bruce Springsteen. And I've seen him 3 times now in the last 2 years. And it's almost like a religious experience, you know?
Yes, I
And you
do.
connect. I never got a chance to see Led Zeppelin in concert,
True.
unfortunately. But AC/DC, I was lucky to see in concert.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, I think you're going to see Springsteen in August, are you not?
I'm going to see Bon Jovi next August
Oh,
in
Bon Jovi's in August. That's right. Sorry. That's
That
right.
that was me taking a rare morning off work and having 3 people in our house trying to fight to get tickets. I mean, it was brutal. They only put on 3 shows initially. Now it's become, I think, 6 or 7, but 3 shows in the UK and Ireland. 3. So if you can imagine, I think when I first went online, like 150,000 people in the queue. I mean, that's how crazy it was. And we managed to get 2 tickets quite near the stage, but that was hard work.
Oh,
And Canadian dollars, I don't know, but in American dollars, it was almost like 1,100 American dollars for 2 tickets. So it was stupid. But I thought, you know what? This could be the last time I ever see them because of John's voice. You
I
never know.
agree. No, I agree with that.
So I couldn't. It was like seeing the Rolling Stones. You just
I
pay
agree.
whatever you can. I say, you know what? This could be the last time. Rolling Stones have just earlier today canceled their worldwide tour
I've
that
heard
they had
this.
planned for 2026. So I'm glad I saw them 3 years ago because Keith Richards has arthritis. He's, I think, 79 or 80. It must be so difficult playing the standard that he plays.
Yes.
So I'm glad I saw them 3 years ago.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. How about this one? These two, Scorpions or Whitesnake?
Oh, love both bands. Have all their albums pretty much. I would say Whitesnake only because David Coverdale was so good on Twitter when he was on Twitter. His tweets were outstanding. Probably the best rock star I've seen on Twitter, just in terms of how he spoke to people. But also a friend of mine, Elizabeth, is a masseuse in England, and she spent the last 2 years massaging rock stars before they go on stage. Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden, all the bands who come to Birmingham in England. And she said David Whitesnake's one of the nicest. Sorry, David Coverdale was one of the nicest people she met as well. So I don't know anybody who's met the Scorpions. So I would go for Whitesnake just for a slightly personal reason.
Got it. This is the final one. This is simple though, but yeah, I just think it's just I thought it was funny because I was looking at different bands and their pictures and all that kind of stuff, and I think of Bryan Adams in the '80s, and I think of Springsteen even today and things like that, and then the rock bands of the '80s. All right, so for attire wise, leather pants or ripped jeans?
Oh, ripped jeans. Leather pants are not comfortable.
Did you ever wear leather pants playing drums?
Not playing drums. I have worn them. They're desperately uncomfortable, especially in the summer. No, playing drums, it was fascinating because when you're playing the band, you're sweating like you cannot stop.
That's true.
And because the band always dressed smart, we were always in shirts and trousers. After a while, I stopped wearing jeans. And I just stopped wearing jeans and actually wore comfortable trousers what I did was I would wear shoes walking on stage. I looked really smart, kick my shoes off, put on my trainers, and played for an hour in trainers, and then kick my trainers off, put my shoes back on because you can't play in shoes. It's not comfortable, you know.
I agree. It's very hard as a drummer. It's very tough. But I used to do the same thing too. I used to put all my sneakers and my things like that around the drum kit, and then do all the changing back there. No one's really paying attention anyway. Okay, so listen, I know you have to go, but I need to answer these 2 questions for me really quick. I need to know right now, and people want to know this. We're going into 2026. What keeps you hopeful and optimistic these days, my friend?
What keeps me hopeful is I spent 2025 doing the right things. 2024, I made 2 very bad investments with people who just weren't what they said they would be. And it cost me a lot of money as a business owner at 𝗄𝗏money. And that kind of hurt me. I didn't really make any money. When you go through a year of not making money, it affects you. But in 2025, I bounced back. And I spent the first few months of this year focusing on my relationship with Rachel and spending more time with my parents and spending more time with my stepdaughter against her wishes. She's like, she just sees me as this old guy dating her mom. And that was the smartest thing I did, because now, 12 months later, those relationships are better than they've ever been. And I live in a state of constant gratitude. And because I take care of my health, despite my sweet tooth, I'm now a very naturally optimistic person. I deal with difficult times very well. And I rarely get depressed. And to think what I've been through in the last 3 or 4 years of my life, especially 5 years ago, I never thought I'd be in this position I am in now. And I'm just utterly, utterly grateful.
That's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that with me. Finish this sentence for me, my friend. I love my life because
I did what most men don't do. I worked on myself. And this world would be such a, not just a better place, but a safer place if men would actually go into therapy, understand themselves, and make this world safer for women.
Wow. That's a powerful message as we go into...
well, I know, obviously I can't talk about Rachel's past. I'd love to, but I know what she went through in her previous relationship. And I also know that because she's a social worker, what she sees poverty doing to people, especially men, and because a lot of her friends are in their late 40s, early 50s and single, and they complain about how men can sometimes be very controlling. And I'm grateful that her friends, and also my stepdaughter's friends, hang out at this house all the time, because it's a house of safety. They never have to worry about anything. And that's something I never thought I'd ever talk about or mention, but it's something I'm really proud of, because I always ask her, why do you always hang out with me for? Why do you always want me coming out with you guys? And why am I the guy that always drops you home? I mean, I don't drink, so it's easy enough to do. But it's because they feel safe. And for me, that's the greatest compliment I can ever have.
That's a beautiful message. And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, when you feel safe and secure in a home, in a relationship, with a family member, at your work, there's just it's a really, really tremendously positive effect on your life. And you're right. I think a lot of men need to step up a little. We all do, and speak about it, as we're doing right this very second.
My first year with Rachel, we wrote a card to each other, and I expected her to say to me, "Thank you for the lovely holidays. Thank you for taking me out. Thank you for paying the bills." And she said that, but it wasn't what she led with. What she led was thank you for making this a safe home, and thank you for taking care of me and making me feel safe around you. I just didn't, and I had to ask her, I said, what do you mean by that? I didn't understand what she meant by it. And then she told me, and I was like, whoa, I never even thought about that. Because in London, the women I met were strong and ferocious and leaders, and I surrounded myself with really strong women. I was lucky enough to have mainly female bosses. Women I knew were very different in Northern Ireland, very different. And I'm seeing a completely different side of Irish life that I've never even knew existed. And I'm just grateful that I worked on myself enough to know that I don't raise my voice. I'm careful, very careful of what I say. I'm incredibly self-aware. And I just wish more men were. And I just wish more men realize that a lot of the problems of the world are because of them. And that when women live in a place where, this is very profound for their life, when women live in a place where they feel safe and appreciated and loved, just the world in general is just a better place. It really is. I think that's a nice way to finish on, actually.
That's a beautiful message to finish on, my friend. That is a beautiful sentiment. My dear friend, I knew this was going to be amazing. I couldn't wait for us to chat. I so enjoyed this conversation with you. I want to encourage everybody to go to your website. It's right there. It's 𝗪𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗏. You can go there. You can connect with him on LinkedIn as well. He'd love to hear any feedback. I'm going to go through every one of the comments. I hope you do as well, Niraj. I know there's so many people that left comments and were very moved by your story and the things that you've mentioned here today. And they just appreciate it, just learning more about you. And then I think we realize that, again, we're all just so much more connected than we think. And the world's probably making us feel different right now, but I'm hoping conversations like this will resonate with people as we go into the holiday season and into the new year. So I hope you had fun. I'm sorry I kept you. I told you I tried to keep it short, but it's such a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. Please stick around afterwards. I just want to say hi to you before we take off. When I close down the show, stick around for two seconds after that. Everybody else, I so appreciate all the comments. Thanks for tuning in and watching.
Yeah,
I hope I hope you learned a lot and appreciated the time that we spent today. And I know, Niraj, I really appreciate your time. As I said it at the beginning, there's people that have time for you, and then they make time, and you've made some time for me today. So I super appreciate that very much. Everybody else, listen, thanks for showing up. And you know how this always ends. Be kind out there. Just be kind out there. That's all you got to do. Just be kind out there, everybody. We'll see you on the other side, Niraj. Take care, everybody. We'll see you again.
Everybody.
Cheers. Just be kind out there. That's all you have to do. Just be kind out there. I mean, that's all you have to do. Just be kind out there, everybody. I mean, just be kind. That's all you have to do. Just be kind out there, everybody. Hey, just be kind. You know the drill. Just be kind out there, everybody. Just be kind. Just be kind out there, everybody. That's all you have to do, right? Exactly. Just be kind out there, everybody.